Let me just say something here. We've had traffic problem issues, not just in Baltimore and not just in Hagerstown, but also in Ocean City, Maryland. And for the most part, we've addressed those through enhanced enforcement. So I'm not prejudging what we're going to do here. But I think we have to do something. We can't do nothing. Okay. And when you're the chairman, you can get the last word like that. So that concludes the public hearing on House Bill 777.
Thank you, everyone.
Proceed to what I believe is the last bill of the afternoon. Let me just double check. Yeah, House Bill 102, Delegate Lehman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am glad to be before this committee today. Once again, I think batting cleanup. I am asking for your favorable consideration of House Bill 102, calling for increased penalties for car speeding contests, also referred to in some jurisdictions as car exhibitions. So you're about to see some footage of 4 different car contests, 3 of which were in the last few months, and the locations are in southern Prince George's, downtown Silver Spring, Dundalk, and Essex. And I want to say,
Delegate Lehman, before you proceed, did you tell our chief of staff that you had videos?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. How long are these? What's the length of these videos?
There are 4 contests, and the footage is about 10 seconds each, Mr. Chairman. It fits within.
Go for it.
It's within my. I hope we can restart the clock.
I'll let you slide there. Go for it.
Thank you. So you're going to see footage from 4 car contests within the last few months: Southern Prince George's, downtown Silver Spring, Dundalk, and Essex. And I want to thank my intern, Charles Tuttle, who was able to find these videos on YouTube, and he actually created street maps to show you exactly where these events took place. So buckle up.
Okay.
We need music now.
Ooh, Fenton and Ellsworth. No, know exactly where that is. Okay.
Okay, so this was mainly to demonstrate that these contests or exhibitions are going on all over the state, and including in urban areas like the footage you saw in downtown Silver Spring, which was more of the sort of hot dog variety rather than high speed. But the bill was actually brought to the committee last year by Delegate Vaughn Stewart. It passed the Environment and Transportation Committee in the full House, but it was never voted on in the Senate Judicial Proceedings Committee. The purpose is to decrease the number of illegal vehicle races or other car exhibitions that have occurred on public roadways and in parking lots by imposing stronger penalties, including fines and points, and by adding what we talked about in the last bill, a must-appear provision. So the bill authorizes police departments and courts to impose.
Go ahead. Sorry, that was my phone. My apologies.
Okay. It allows police departments and courts to impose penalties that are more appropriate to these contests, which are dangerous to participants, to onlookers, to other motorists when they happen on roadways. And of course, they are disruptive to the flow of traffic and to commerce. So the increased penalties are meant to act as deterrents for all drivers, including out-of-state drivers, many of whom participate in these contests, and to repeat offenders and to promote public safety. So quickly, the bill does three main things. It mandates a court appearance, and it increases the points assessed against a driver convicted of violating the law. So drivers would receive 8 points if there is no bodily injury during the event, 12 points if the event causes bodily injury. That is noteworthy because 8 points results in the suspension of a license, 12 points results in a license being revoked. I want to call to your attention the fact that this committee approved emergency legislation 2 or 3 years ago for just Worcester County because this problem had become so out of control down there. And what we did was we made these violations a must appear offense. And I talked to a police captain down there in Ocean City a few days ago who said by having a must appear requirement, they have actually reduced these incidents by 2/3. And the reason for that is obvious. It's inconvenient for folks to go to court. And in many instances, he confirmed, as well as other police officers in Prince George's and elsewhere, that a lot of the participants are actually from out of state. They are not just Marylanders, so it's even more inconvenient to have to return and go to court. The participants, so they have to appear, and that is an inconvenience. There's the increased fine from $500 to $1,000 if there is no bodily injury. The bill is drafted in a way that it keeps the $1,000 fine when there is bodily injury. I think that may need to be amended. And then it also allows officers the discretion of ordering vehicles to be impounded. Now, that is already allowed under all counties.
Mary, I think you may have flowed over your 4 minutes, but I bet there are a lot of questions.
Sure. And so there's an allowance for discretionary impoundment, the increase in the fines and points. And I just want to end by saying these contests have clearly grown in frequency and size since the beginning of the pandemic. And I believe absent more serious penalties, they will continue to grow. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, before I recognize other questions, I have 1 or 2 questions here, and that is that, so your bill does have a requirement to show up in court without having a year in jail, right?
Yes, absolutely it does. If I could point out that it is already in the statute, I did not add or change this. It already is in the statute that if one of these events results in bodily injury, there is the potential for imprisonment of up to a year, but that is already the law. Okay.
Okay, very good. Let's see. I had another question before my pea brain dropped it. I'll think of it later. Delegate Frazier Hidalgo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What happens if they fail to appear? So I know you're saying it's not incarcerable, it's just a must appear, but what is the mechanism that is employed should they fail to appear?
So from my, I had an interesting conversation with Judge Morrissey about this, and I do want to point out, Mr. Chairman, that in response to the must appear provision, I believe he said there are about half a dozen bills this session with must appear language. And for the first time, I think ever, the Legislative Review Committee of that organization is not taking a position against these must appear provisions. They are not doing that for the first time. And
I'm sorry. What committee is this that's not taking a position?
It's I believe the name of it, and one of the attorneys on here can correct me. The Legislative Review arm of the district court system.
Okay, it's the court system. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So they are not weighing in on must appear, and will deal with it on a case-by-case basis. Delegate Frazier Hidalgo, to answer your question, that is where there is a potential for jail time, and that is always the case where you have a must appear requirement. If someone does not appear because the violation says you must appear, then a judge can issue a warrant for the person's arrest. or can give them a second chance and say, you need to appear. You already were supposed to get in here, or you could go to jail. That is the case under a whole bunch of laws, including traffic violation laws.
Okay, so it's basically you're leaving it up to the discretion of the judge to issue a bench warrant.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. Thank you for the question.
Okay, next question. Is there a next question? There don't appear to be any. Well, I have forgotten to recognize the other proponents. Let me go ahead and ask them to speak. First, John Seng with the Coalition for Highway Safety. John, you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, go for it. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I'll stick to my 2 minutes. Thank you, Chairman Barbe and members of the House Environment and Transportation Committee. Please support HB 102 and all its provisions in the interest of public safety on our public roads. I represent the interest of fellow Marylanders who drive on, bicycle on, or attempt to cross roads in our state. And more than anything else, these people would really like to live to see tomorrow. I'm not blowing things out of proportion here when I say that. The Maryland Coalition for Highway Safety that I founded includes people who have lost family members and friends to roadway violence committed by others, and they suffer with inconsolable pain of their losses every single day. And we really appreciate the bill sponsor delegate Mary Lehman's extensive study and work on this legislation, which simply increases deterrence to the speeding or racing brand of road violence in Maryland. Whether due to messaging about defunding the police or the psychological impact of COVID and all the related anxieties there, we're seeing increasingly dangerous and reckless behavior on our roads, from Ocean City to Cumberland and St. Mary's to Westminster in the north. I've not seen these videos before. It's pretty shocking, like the Wild West throughout Maryland. And the fact that they're on YouTube or whatever sharing site just shows the sort of flip attitude that these perpetrators have. It's premeditated, deliberate, organized, violent criminal activity. There's no two ways about it. There's no good excuse for participating in illegal racing of any kind on any Maryland road, and the practice needs to stop. So what will it take? 2 simple questions for this committee. 1, do you agree it must stop? And 2, will you agree to raise the penalties to deter this kind of road violence? We would prefer that folks aren't not incarcerated. We would doubly prefer that they be deterred from this kind of behavior. And a particular point of emphasis is mandatory court appearances will be an effective deterrent, expectedly so much so that the burden on the justice system could actually decline. So the single goal must rise above all other concerns and inconveniences: safety first on our roads. Again, our coalition thanks Delegate Lehman for her work and advocacy for road safety. Mr. Chairman, finally, you and the members of this committee and the entire General Assembly and the governor holds it within your power to stem this avenue of road violence in Maryland. Please see the written testimony I've submitted and send a strong message that Maryland manages and insists upon safe roads, and submit a favorable response to HB 102. Thank you.
Okay, next witness is Ron Weiss. Ron?
Chair Barbe, Delegate Lehman, and members of the committee, thank you very much for allowing me to testify on a bill that's very important to me. I am a member of John's council, and I am also the president of the Indian Head Highway Area Action Council, but I'm speaking for myself in support of HB 102. I live in Southern Maryland, and I'm a senior who would rather not meet his maker on Maryland roads. All my 6 grown children and their families live in Maryland, and I want them safe on our roads. My over 4 years of trying to make Maryland 210 safer has led me to the conclusion that I, my family, and all Marylanders are at mortal risk in our roads because of the relatively few drivers who are potential killers. Transportation safety depends on users following the rules of the road to provide a predictable environment for all users. Racing and speed contests inject chaos in our road environment and make our driving environment less predictable and riskier. Air and railway modes of transportation do not tolerate bad actors, and we should not tolerate bad actors on our roads either. Over 500 people have lost their lives in Maryland roads in each of the last 2 years. If our roads were an airline, it would be grounded. Increasing the penalties incurred by drivers racing and speeding will go a long way to modifying their behavior for the benefit of all drivers and passengers. Thank you very much. I urge the committee to support HB 102.
Well, thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Regina Ali. Regina, welcome back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. I won't introduce myself again, but obviously I'm here on behalf of AAA in support of House Bill 102. Obviously, you have my written testimony, which actually shows quite a few horrific examples of where Marylanders have lost their lives on roadways, either as a result of an illegal speed race, and in many cases, it was not even the drivers of these illegal race cars, if you want to call them that. It was other motorists, it was pedestrian spectators. So I can tell you that according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, nationwide, approximately 49 people are injured, are killed. And let me look at nationally 49 people are injured for every 1,000, who participate in illegal racing every year. We believe that Delegate Lehman's bill and the enhanced penalties will go a long way to hopefully be a deterrent and help reduce this dangerous behavior on our roadways and parking lots and what have you. And we would obviously like for police to have additional discretion as it relates to the ability to impound a vehicle. So again, thanking Delegate Lehman for her leadership on this issue, and on behalf of AAA and our actually over 1 million members here in the state of Maryland, we would thank you for your consideration and urge a favorable report for House Bill 102. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Next, Karen Coakley. Karen? Am I on? Yeah, I'm on.
Okay, I've unmuted myself.
Okay.
Chairman Barbe, Vice Chairman Stein, and members of the Environmental Transportation Committee. My name is Karen Coakley, and I thank you immensely for allowing me to speak with you all today. I've submitted written testimony, but I'm going to go off script because we had a presentation last night with Delegate Lehman and Major Fisher, who's the major at my local police station. I live in Prince George's County in Beltsville. These races, the first one that came to my attention was when a group of racers closed the interstate of I-95 by College Park last spring, so that a charming driver who wanted to have fun and games could do figure-8 wheelies. There was a resident from Beltsville who was trying to take a family member to the hospital. They were stuck in traffic. How would each of you feel if you were trying to get to a hospital? How would each of you feel if a fire truck, an ambulance, a police officer could not reach your emergency situation because these riders are hijacking, they are closing the roads? We saw videos last night where multiple, by the University of Maryland, down by National Harbor, these riders are closing major thoroughfares and, entertaining themselves. They have followers. At recent events in Prince George's County, there have been over 300 drivers from 5 different states blocking our roads, hampering first responders, who if they have to get somewhere. I don't want to see somebody lose their life because some moron is doing a figure-8 and having fun and games. Please, please, please pass Mary Lehman's Bill 102. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
I did less than 2 minutes.
You know what? Treat yourself to a cookie. You've been good.
I know, but I'm very passionate. This has got to stop.
Okay. Jermaine Jordan.
Good afternoon. I want to thank the committee, the chairman, and Delegate Lehman for allowing me to speak. Throughout 2020 and 2021, law enforcement agencies have had a rise in complaints of street racing and exhibition driving. These departments have committed a large number of resources to combat these issues in an attempt to keep the public safe. One hindrance the law enforcement has had is the fact that the wording of the laws concerning street racing and exhibition driving is vague, and the penalties are nothing more than a slap on the wrist and do not deter these activities. These events are at times spontaneous and other times organized in advance and have caused disruptions in traffic and endangered the lives of citizens who traverse within our state. My testimony is in support of the proposed legislation with additions to serve as amendments to strengthen the laws. There should be an inclusion of Transportation Article 21-1132A2, exhibition driving, and Transportation Article 21-1117, skidding, spinning of wheels, and excessive noise prohibited in this penalty. Race and speed contests describe straight line movements on the roadways and are only part of the overall problem. There have been many examples of groups of vehicles stopping traffic to exhibit reckless behavior on roadways, as well as in parking areas used by the public. One of the most notable was the vehicle who stopped traffic to do donuts on the Chesapeake Bay Bridge in September of 2020. These actions are at times more dangerous than straight line races due to the erratic nature that the vehicles have as they rotate, around a central point. Adding a minimum amount of time that vehicles may be impounded, as well as a penalty of prolonged impoundment of the vehicles used in violation, is if there's a conviction of subsequent violations of the same statute, will serve as a more substantial deterrent of committing these violations. I believe that I understand the goal of HB 102, so I think with these minor amendments, the bill will reach the intended goal of preventing the reckless actions and keeping the public safe as they move across our great state. I encourage this committee to vote in favor of HB 102. I give this testimony as a citizen of Prince George's County in the state of Maryland, hoping that all travel safely. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think that's everybody who wanted to testify. Do we have any questions? Okay, if we don't have any questions, let me just say something here. I'm sensing an opportunity, Delegate Fraser Hidalgo and the Transportation Committee, to write some sort of legislation that is uniform to all of these problems. And it appears to me that, we of course had the senseless behavior in Ocean City that we addressed maybe 1 or 2 years ago. I can't remember how long ago it was. And now we've got problems in Hagerstown. We've got problems in Silver Spring, Mary, 3 blocks away from where I grew up. We have problems throughout the state of Maryland. And so I guess, Dave, I think what I want to say to you, and I want to say this in public because I think it's important for everybody to hear at least how I think we should be going here. Since the courts appear to have understood that making people show up in court is something that they're just going to have to learn to live with. I think that's something we might have to consider going there. We can't do nothing, but whatever we do for any of these bills, I think has to be the same thing, because they're, just as we have this very uniform treatment with respect to photo radar, where we have those 4 rules that we apply, I think we have to start to look at these problems in the same fashion, because not only are there these road racing problems, but there's also, I'm getting a lot of emails, I bet you guys are as well, of people who are complaining. I just got an email today about somebody complaining about people driving around making a lot of noise. And this is something that's getting worse and worse and worse. And I've been in the legislature for 30 years, and I don't ever remember getting so many complaints about this kind of behavior, except for the last couple of years. So, you know what? Go figure it out, Dave, and your subcommittee.
Mr. Chairman, we will. It's also happened in Germantown.
Yeah, it's happening everywhere.
In Germantown as well, right?
Yeah, this misbehavior is happening all over the place, and I understand that some people. You know what? I'm just going to leave it there. I have a lot of faith in you and your folks to figure out a uniform solution that applies to all 24 jurisdictions. So
we'll work on it.
Okay, there we have it.